It starts with Kyle Seager. Look what he has done, where he ranks among third basemen the last 2 years. We're talking the elite at his position. Really good numbers. And let's revisit some of the things that happened last night involving Mr. Seager.
Well, this is one of the reasons why he's hitting with a 14-game hitting streak right now. Solid base hit to left center field as he drives in a run. Something that Kyle was known for last year, the 2-out RBI, picks up an RBI. But how about this? His third home run in 5 days. A couple of those home runs off of left-handed pitching. So Kyle making the adjustments when he's needed to, showing some power, but more importantly, steady as you go every day. Kyle Seager picking up hits.
One of the constants with this Mariner ball club over the last few years has been defense, and last night it showed itself in a big way with four double plays.
Well, you take a look at this defense here by Jason Bay. Nice catch out in left field, and then as Dave mentioned, come up with a double play, smash to third. Kyle Seager gets it started, exactly finished it, and a good pick by Smoke. Everybody's going to get involved. I thought this was a big-time play right here by Justin Smoke. You can see how quickly he was able to backhand that, touch first, get the runner in a rundown, and end the inning as they tag Pujols out. And then lastly, Andino getting the start at shortstop. Their usual 6-4-3 double play. Justin Smoke helping his infielders out again, and Kelly Shopping throws out one of the speediest runners in the major leagues, and Mike Trout throws him out. So a lot of good defense last night, one of the trademarks for this club.
Really good stuff, and also hopefully a new trademark working its way into the Mariner lexicon, the long ball. Take a look and a listen at this music video coming up, showing some of the great home runs of the past week. Mariners baseball on Root Sports is being brought to you by Ford. We are local. And by the Emerald Queen Casino, presenting comedian and star of the hit TV show Mike and Molly, Billy Gardell, June 22nd. For tickets, go to emeraldqueen.com. Gorgeous night here in Seattle, the Emerald City, as we get ready for Game 2 of this 4-game set with the Angels. Pitching matchup tonight, Aaron Harang. Very important for him to hold on to that 5th spot. If he can get a win here tonight, he goes against the veteran C.J. Wilson.
Well, this will be the 3rd start for Aaron Harang, and I think the big thing for him is he has to stay away from the big inning. In Arlington, he was pitching well in his 2nd start, and then all of a sudden the 5th inning came around, and they put it to him. So Aaron, again, his 3rd start of the year. Remember, he almost missed 3 weeks without a start before signing with the Mariners. If he can stay in there and go give a strong 5 or 6 innings, he'll be in good shape. Fastball command is the key for Aaron.
C.J. Wilson in his 2nd year with the Angels. He's a 5-pitch pitcher. Mariners have seen a lot of him over the years.
They have. They're definitely familiar with C.J. I think if you look at his numbers so far this year, walks have been the key. He's averaging about 4 walks a game. Hunt the fastball. He's also given up 3 home runs. I think if you stay on the fastball, you can have success against Wilson.
Mariners come up big last night with a very important win coming off the tough road trip. And we put a nice little music video together for you to enjoy as they enjoy here in College Night and Beard Hat Night. Glad you are with us. Angels in the Mariners' first pitch straight ahead. It is Beard Hat Night here at Safeco Field on a beautiful Friday evening. Fans enthused coming off a Mariner win last night as we get you set for Game 2 of a 4-game set with the Angels. This is Mariner Baseball. Dave Sims, Mike Flowers, and the Root Sports crew with you. And we are ready for action with Aaron Harang on the mound. And let's take a look at the batting order he'll face from Mike Scioscia's Angels.
The Angels, #1 in average. Really been swinging the bats well this year. Borges leading off. We want to keep him off the bases. Then it's Trout, Pujols, Hamilton, Mark Trumbo hitting .310, reached base safely in all 21 games. Kendrick Harris, Conger getting the start behind the plate. He will hit 8. And then Jimenez will round out the 9 for the Angels. Aaron Harang this year High ERA for him again. The 5th inning in his last outing against the Rangers is what brought his ERA way up. Really struggled, so hopefully he won't have that problem tonight, staying away from the big inning. T-Mobile defense, Jason Bay getting the start in left, Chavez in center. Michael Moore is back in the lineup after getting last night out. He's in right. Seager at third, Ryan and Andino playing up the middle. Ackley getting the night off tonight. Smoke at first, and Kelly Shopik doing the catch.
First pitch to Borges in there for a strike. 7:10 start time, 63 degrees. Very comfortable here at the ballpark. And through the whole base hit. Borges, tremendous speed. You got to deal with him.
Well, we're able to see Kelly Shopik throw out Mike Trout last night trying to steal. I would think they would continue to put the pressure on the Mariners throughout this series, but maybe you can slow them down a little bit, throw a couple of guys out. Usually managers tend to lay off of that a little bit, but that should be a big part of the Angels game this year, even though we really haven't seen much of it this year, Dan.
Stunning that they've not run that much. Last night was the first time Trout had been caught. 3 out of 4. It's a pitch outside. Home plate umpire Scott Barry, Wally Bell, the crew chief at first, Mike Everett at second, and Marty Foster at third. Trout, dangerous customer all the way around. Last year, 49 stolen bases, caught just 5 times. And he had all those opportunities. Why? Because he had 326. Rookie of the year, had 129 runs scored.
Oh, by the way, missed the first month of the season because he was in AAA.
That's right. Got sick. Weight was down about 210. It's up about 230, 232 right now. Got a 1-1 count. Trying to work away from him. 2-1.
There you go. 326, 30 home runs, 83 RBIs, and again, wasn't with the big club for most of the first month of the season.
He is a big time talent. Orang last time out, as Mike talked about, did well and then got into the 5th inning against the Rangers. 10 men came to the plate, and he gave up in that ball game 3 home runs. Martin, Moreland, and Cruz had a big grand slam in that game. Slice stop out of play. 2-2.
Good win for the Mariners last night. Really put the entire game together. Great outing by Mallett. Carter Capps coming in. He was able to pitch well, and of course Tom Wilhelmsen shut the game down. But offensively, they did a lot of good things. Everybody's talking about the big home run by Peguero, 451 feet for Peguero. Kyle Seager continued his hitting streak. I thought one of the biggest keys was the base hit by Jason Bay to drive in a couple of runs.
Solid smash up the middle. Borges can motor. He's going to get the third easily. Trout shuts it down. So the Angels, the first 2 men are aboard, first and third.
Trout able to get an off-speed pitch away from him. That's the slider. Hits it back up the middle.
Tough spot here now. You get great speed on the base pass. Moreover, Albert Pujols is the hitter, a .315 career hitter against Orang. 23 of 73, 5 home runs, and 14 runs batted in. That'll score at least 1 as it stays in the yard, and Chavez back on the track. Trout moving to second, and he's in safely as Borges scores 1-0. Angels for Albert, his 12th RBI.
And one of the things that we noticed last night, and I'm sure we'll see it again, is this is an aggressive swinging club. Pujols jumps on the first fastball. It's the middle of the plate and up as he drives it out to the warning track in center field.
Talking to Mike Scioscia before the game and credited Albert for not expanding the hitting zone the way he did last year, and Josh Hamilton. He said he's getting there. He's not driving the ball, but he said their whole offense is tilted towards driving the ball, and Mariners see if they can keep Hamilton under wraps. Josh last night 1 for 4.
I think what we're seeing is what's happening right now. The best way to keep those guys under wraps is you have to keep the first 2 guys off of base. You get the runners out there, and these guys will do some damage to you as this ball gets away from Kelly Shopping.
Trout to third. Shopping recovers.
A wild pitch.
So base hit. Another base hit. Sac fly. Then a wild pitch, and Harang in trouble with Trout at third, and 2-0 here to Hamilton. Foul back. Hamilton, first time he's facing Aaron Harang. Harang with the Dodgers last season, and then cut. They had an abundance of pitchers in spring training. They had 8 starters, and they let Harang go. He went to Colorado, barely suited up, and then he was over. Now he's over here with the Mariners in his 3rd start. 2-1. Could not check the swing. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Those are the first 3 pitches. The last pitch was up out of the strike zone. Again, the Angels aggressive. Hamilton probably the most aggressive out of the bunch.
Two and 2 to Hamilton. Shift is on. Pitch. Swing. And they struck him out. Off-speed pitch to get him. And there's 2 outs.
Smart pitch by Aaron Harang, the veteran, has been around. Wastes a fastball up out of the zone and then comes back with a changeup. As you take a look at our McDonald's Supermo, and you can see how far out in front Hamilton was on that pitch. Good location, just off the outside corner. But a smart pitch to a guy that likes to swing the bat, especially with 2 strikes. You can see what he's done over the last 2 seasons, a 160 average for him. So it's been a struggle.
Dangerous hitter here in Mark Trumbo. Pitch outside for ball 1. Trumbo 1 for 4 last night. The multi-hit games in 6 of his last 11 starts.
Brandon Maurer had a lot of success with his slider against Trumbo last night, throwing those pitches off the plate away and getting him to chase them. And that looks like what Harang tried to do with the first pitch. Missed, came back with a fastball and missed even wider with that.
Trout at third. 2 outs here in the first inning, just underway. 2-0 pitch here to Trumbo. Miss. Good Friday night crowd on hand here in Seattle. Comfortable. We had mostly blue sky all day. A little cloudy right now. Since served into center field, and Andy Chavez has it measured. So they get a couple of guys on and score just 1. Trumbo flies out. Good look at the crowd here at Safeco Field. Mariners coming to bat. Well, for the 51st time, the Mariners are going to face C.J. Wilson, a 5-pitch pitcher, left-hander in his second year with the Angels. Let's take a look at the batting order, and the Mariners will throw at him tonight.
Mariners starting lineup brought to you by Chevron. Jason Bay will lead off tonight. First time in his career as a leadoff hitter. Then it's Kyle Seager. 14-game hitting streak for Kyle. Also his third home run of the year last night. Morales, Morris, and Smoke. Smoke still hasn't had a day off. Back in the lineup hitting 5th. Shopik and Dino, the second baseman, hitting 7th. And it's Chavez and Ryan rounding out the 9 for the Mariners. C.J. Wilson, you take a look at his numbers. He has 5th start, 1-0 record, ERA at 4.13. Big number to look at, 15 walks in the 24 innings that he has pitched. That's a lot of walks. Fast outfield, Trout in left, Borges in center, and Trumbo is out in right. And on the infield, Jimenez at third, Harrison Kendrick playing up the middle, Albert Pujols, the first baseman, and Hank Conger will do the catching tonight.
C.J. Wilson, former closer. First pitch to Jason Bay. In there for strike. Jason at 220 with a homer and 4 runs batted in. Mike pointed out a huge 2-run single in the 7th inning last night. Big attitude win, a lot of attitude plays, a lot of good stuff last night. Club needed it big time.
Including for Jason, we saw the diving catch at the top of the show here before the game was started. Had a couple of hits last night. And Figueroa was actually walked in front of him when he came up with the base hit as he pops this up to short. A big hit for Jason Bay in last night's game to drive in a couple of runs.
Harris makes the catch. And boy, look at Mariner vision. How crisp and gorgeous that is.
Good crowd out in center field.
Very good crowd out there all around the ballpark. And we got a new camera in right center field providing these glorious pictures. So you'll be able to see some guys make an effort to bring balls back into the ballpark off of that camera. That's good stuff. Here's Kyle Seager. This guy is really maturing, continues to improve. Slow start. He's now 6th in total bases. Got his first 14-game hitting streak. Tops in the American League at 3rd in extra base hits.
You see what Kyle has done against C.J. Wilson. Not a lot of luck for him, 1 for 13, but I think we're seeing an improvement against left-handers here. Already 3 home runs, 2 of them off left-handed pitchers.
Behind 1 and 2. C.J. Wilson in his second year with the Angels. He's out of Newport Beach, California. Lives in Huntington Beach now. 32 years old. Former closer for the Rangers. Closer and a starter. And Hank Conger holds on. Seager's gone. 2 outs.
C.J. Wilson going with the fastball. Kyle a little bit late on as you look at our McDonald's Supermo and the swing of Kyle Seager. You can see how deep that fastball was past the plate by the time the barrel came through and swings under it.
Mike Scioscia talking about his left-hander, said he's lost his release point from time to time in his early starts, but has been able to find it. There's Kendrys Morales. Morales, tough start last night, hitting 3 double plays, and then got a base hit in the 8th inning.
I think the thing that he has done, Dave, is although he hasn't been swinging particularly well, he's finding a way to check in with that base hit, stay around that 250 mark, which I think veteran guys typically will do, and eventually he's going to get hot.
Stays at the 250 mark with a bunch of home runs. There'll be a lot of happy campers around here.
I don't think there's any question about that.
1 and 2. Morales, second night playing against his former team. Way outside. Remember, Wilson was with the Texas Rangers. Talk to their people, they said he's got great stuff. Throw the ball. Quit trying to outsmart everybody. Use it. You got 5 pitches. Come on.
It happens sometimes, and he has a really good arm. And when he was closing, he was basically a fastball slider guy. Since he went into the rotation for the Rangers and now with the Angels, he's mixing a lot of other pitches, and sometimes that can be a problem.
Off the glove, Kendrick throws. So 1-for-3 putout of Kendrys Morales. To the second inning we go. 1-0 Angels. That night, this is what you got to deal with, you know, and he passes the test.
And he still has the beard.
He's double bearding on us tonight. A very unique item. Good crowd on hand, college night. Half-price beer out in the pen. The depth of the crowd in the pen certainly reflects that promotion.
Yeah, Cantina's crowded too.
And so it's definitely a guy thing, that's for sure. Here's Howie Kendrick to lead it off. Kendrick, Harris, and Conger 6, 7, and 8. Howie 1 for 3 last evening. Fouled off. Angels come in with a record of 8-13. A half game ahead of the Mariners. Texas leading the American League West starting today with a 15-7 record. Bouncing ball Ryan. His first action in a couple of days. Easy play, throws out Kendrick. 1 out.
One of the keys for Haranga, we talked about staying away from the big inning. It was some good pitching in the first after giving up back-to-back hits. He was first and third with nobody out. He ends up giving up just the 1 run. He's having to pitch to the middle of the lineup. So hopefully that's a good sign for him as he gets that ground out here to start the second.
It's one of those things, too. As a team, you feel good for you. You're playing defense behind this guy, and you're going, hey, way to go, my man.
That's right.
That could have been just an absolute disaster. Brendan Harris, the shortstop.
The thing about it, too, especially with the Angels, again, they're an aggressive club, as you see Harris swing a first pitch fastball, and we saw it last night. Mariners have one of the better defenses in the American League, and I thought that Brandon Maurer at times last night, excellent job. 3 double plays were turned. Some nice diving catches in the outfield. They're going to get, the Angels are going to get their hits. They're first in average, first in hits in the American League. But if you can get them to hit the ball on the ground, you have a chance to get yourself out of some trouble. Great backhanded double play started by Smoke last night. Brendan Ryan, one of the best defensive shortstops in the game.
And Dino, that one squibs away from him. Base hit for Harris. The 1 out, 1 on, and bat night, it's back tomorrow. Mariners and Angels, 6:10 start time. All youngsters 14 and under, you get a full-size Dustin Ackley Louisville Slugger bat thanks to Jack Link's Beef Jerky. You're going to hit a home run with your kids' parents when you get them tickets to tomorrow night's bat night. Mariners.com. Federal Ways, Hank Conger. Switch hitting catcher. Hank in his 9th game.
Hank hitting .222 overall, has yet to homer, 1 RBI.
Brandon Maurer thrilled coming up with that victory last night. He liked his fastball command a lot.
I thought his slider was excellent last night.
He worked at a really good pace too.
He worked at a good pace. You could see him gaining confidence with his pitch. I think he took advantage of a lineup that is right-handed dominant with the Angels last night. Josh Hamilton, the only left-hander in the lineup, so his slider off the plate away from all the righties was an effective pitch.
He didn't have to face Ibar and Cayespo, both on the DL, both are switch hitters. That's hit a ton, deep right field, and it's going to lead the yard. Hank Conger of Federal Way just giving the Angels a 3-0 lead, and Harang gives up another home run. That's his 5th, and that ties him with Iwakuma and Bevan for the most home runs given up in a ball club. For Hank Conger's first home run, RBIs 2 and 3.
This is a pitch up in the zone. Looks like a fastball above the belt, and Conger able to get on top of it. See how high that pitch was. That was up around his letters and drives it into the seats in right field.
So the home run bug. I'll play to Mr. Harang as Luis Jimenez stands in, looks at ball 1. Count evens at 1-1. Shapik will take a look. Count 1-2. 1 out, 2 runs in. The Angels, their 18th home run, 12th in the American League. Skips up there for ball. New left side of the infield for these Angels with Alberto Cayespo, the third baseman, and Eric Ibar on the DL, and both are expected back, they hope, in the next 4 to 5 days. Full count to Jimenez, who's batting in the 9 hole.
I was talking to Mark Langston today about Ibar, and he said that he needs to do a few more fielding drills. He said running straight ahead and swinging the bat's fine. You want to test him out a little bit in the field first.
And will also get out of play.
Fastball on the outside corner by Harang.
Sights and the sounds really working here at the ballpark this evening. Good crowd on a Friday night. Still got plenty of daylight left here. All sections of this ballpark. A lot of folks in them. Seager throws Jimenez out for out number 2. Back to the top of the order, Peter Borges. Hey, now's your chance to ask the booth anything you want. Tweet your questions to @RootsSports_NW, and we'll answer some of them later on in the game. We told you it's about, what, 50 deep out in the pen? It's a good night of commerce out there. Here's Borges. Slider for a strike. Started the ball game with a base hit to left.
He's off to a good start with the Angels with that base hit. His average at 324 now.
Good night goes is Wally Bell. It's that corner. Ball and 2 strikes. outside. 2-2. Other action, American League West. Baltimore and Oakland, no score, top 2 at Oakland. Texas leads 3-0 at Minnesota, top of the 9th. Houston at Boston. Red Sox lead at 6-3, top of the 8th. Ryan knows he's got to hurry. And he gets Borges. So Hank Conger, Federal Way, hits a 2-run homer and extends the lead for the Angels to 3-0. It'll be more Smoke and Shopik when we get back. Box. The chicken chipotle club combo is back for a limited time at Jack in the Box. Try one today with fries and a drink for just $4.99 plus tax. And by BNSF Railway, the engine that connects us. Field foul pole here at Safeco Field as Michael Morris leads off. Had last night off. Eric Wedge said that broken pinky right hand. It's on his right hand. Rick Griffin, the head athletic trainer, said, hey, that day of rest did him some good. Still not 100%, but it was going to take a break. That's this one on the button down to Jimenez. And that'll do it. And speaking of being a little bit under the weather, Angie Mentic has some news.
Guys, thanks so much. Last night we told you Danny Hultzen was scratched from his start because he couldn't get loose in the bullpen. Today, doctors examined Danny Hultzen, and unfortunately, he has got a rotator cuff strain and tendonitis in that left arm. And so they're going to shut him down. They're going to treat it with rest and rehabilitation. So he'll miss a couple of weeks. But as you can imagine, guys, they want to be extremely careful with him. And it's another reminder that you don't want to rush these young guys.
Absolutely. Particularly on the pitching side of things, that is for sure. Here's Justin Smoak. Smoak 5 for 18 against C.J. Wilson. Couple homers, 5 RBIs, and he struck out 3 times. That's what he did last night. Anibal Jimenez gets another play. 2 outs. Brings up Kelly Shopik.
Having a tough time getting the donut off his back.
That happened on the road. I think last road trip that happened.
Yeah. And now and then you get stuck on there. Over to where the concrete is and was able to finally get it off. So head to the plate.
C.J. Wilson, 4 pitches, 2 outs here in the second inning. Shopik got down an important bunt in the 7th inning last night to move the runners along, and it set up Jason Bay, delivered a bases loaded 2-run single.
not an easy bunt to get down. The pitch before that was 95 miles an hour right at his head, and he was able to get out of the way of it. The next one was still a little bit up and in, laid down a perfect bunt.
Two 2-0 here to Kelly. 2 for 5 with a home run against C.J. Wilson. Interleague play today. Detroit, they crushed Atlanta 10-0. 10 runs on 15 hits. A 5 RBI day for Matt Tuiasosopo. Strike 2-1. Kansas City by a game over Detroit. The two teams over 500. Anibal Sanchez beat Paul Maholm in that game. Two and one to Shopping. There's a strike.
Kelly, he read the scouting report and saw 15 walks over 24 innings because he hasn't offered him anything. Deciding to let C.J. Wilson pitch a little bit. As you mentioned, also 4 pitches to get the first 2 hitters out. He's a veteran. He understands what's going on.
Stepping out.
Yeah, taking his time.
You wait for me.
Maybe that donut wasn't really stuck on there. Just took a little bit of extra time.
That didn't do him any good in the final analysis, but he had the right thought as he takes a called third strike. 3-0 Angels. You know, it's a shirt that everyone is talking about, including Buffalo's. You voted in the first T-shirt Tuesday of the season. Is going to be Brendan Ryan's I Talk to Buffalo's tee. It's a nod to the shortstop's co-star from this year's Mariners commercials. It's free to the first 5,000 fans. Tuesday's game against the Orioles. For tickets to see the winning design, go to mariners.com/shirt. Brendan Ryan, gotta love him. He'll talk to anybody. That was a cute commercial.
He will, too. He will talk to anybody.
He's a good guy. Mike Trout.
I would like to see Aaron Orang post to 0. See if he can get into the flow of this game, giving up 1 run in the first and then 2 runs on a home run in the second.
Get away from Mike Trout.
He's trying to mix his slider in. He had a good feel for it. Yeah, as you see, 41 pitches, 24 strikes so far for Orang. get the call.
Harang looking for his first win since September 26th as a Dodger. He got it at San Diego, going 5 1/3. And Trout is aboard with a walk, the first of the ballgame.
One of the things that Brandon Maurer was so good at last night was working ahead of hitters. So far tonight, 11 batters faced, just 4 first pitch strikes for Aaron. Bring up Albert Pujols. Sacrifice fly for him in the first inning. Took Andy Chavez, the center fielder tonight, all the way to the warning track.
First pitch got that job done with the runner at third. Shot foul, strike one. Well, every major leaguer has a guy that he hits and a guy he can't hit. And certainly Harang falls into the category of a guy that Albert owns. .315 hitter entering tonight's game. That pitch outside, 1-1. Bouncing ball, Seager. They get Trout. Nice job, Andino, to get out of the way. They turn it double play. Well done.
That's one of the things we talked about in last night's game. 3 double plays turned by the Mariners. And a good play by Andino at second base, knowing that Trout was going to be on top of him. He made sure he had the out. Plenty of time with Pujols running to get out of the way as Kyle, his little backhand, quick flip over to second. And you can see Andino clear himself, and then the strong throw to first to complete the double play.
Albert battling plantar fasciitis, certainly not going to be a factor tonight. Not that he was ever a speed burner when he was completely healthy. There's Hamilton fouling one off.
And the Mariners defensively know that. I think that's the reason why Andino made the play. Normally you would see him stay around the bag, but had plenty of time to get the out there, take his time to make sure he's clear of the runner. A strong throw was able to get him.
Hamilton waved at a 2-2 pitch, struck out in his first at bat. That looked like the pitch that got him the first time, 0-2. The 0-2. A weak dribbler. And Seager will just hold on. Infield hit.
Looked like a changeup off the end of the bat. Kyle playing basically over in the shortstop position. So Hamilton going to walk to first base. So take a look at this swing right off the end of the bat. Dribbler down the line.
There's Mark Trumbo. Flied out to center to end the first inning. Angels got a Pujols sac fly in the first and a 2-run homer by Hank Kinder in the second for this 3-0 lead. Well stroked center field, backing up Chavez. It's gone. A line drive home run by Mark Trumbo, a 2-run shot. Angels now have a 5-0 lead, and another home run given up by Aaron Harang.
We saw Carlos Peguero go down out of the strike zone last night and hit a ball 451 feet. Well, this ball is down. It's a breaking ball, and you can see Trumbo, tremendous power, hits a line drive over the center field fence. And for Trumbo, his 3rd home run of the year.
That is some serious strength as Trumbo racks up RBIs 11 and 12. Howie Kendrick the hitter now. Mentioned the Angels #1 in batting average, #1 in hits, 8th in runs scored coming into tonight's action.
And they were 12th in home runs, but with a couple of home runs tonight, trying to work their way up that list.
Here's the 0-2 to Kendrick. Walked by Shopping. Ball and 2 strikes.
Hector Noesi getting loose in the pen.
Two and 2. Nothing hole for the Mariners. 2-2 here to Kendrick. Counts run full. Brendan Harris is on deck. Angels shortstop. And a walk. Second walk of the inning.
You can see Aaron just trying to find the outside corner. Hasn't been able to do it so far. Carl Willis, pitching coach for the Mariners, making a trip out to the mound. He's just missing just off the plate away. And for Aaron to be effective, his fastball again 89 to 91 miles an hour. He's going to have to be able to locate that fastball, and so far he hasn't been able to do it.
Flip side, C.J. Wilson 6 up, 6 down for the Angels against the Mariners. He'll have the bottom third of the order coming up.
Carl Willis taking his time waiting for Scott Berry, the home plate umpire, to come out.
Brings up Brendan Harris. He got a base hit to right in the second inning. 6th man to the plate here in the third for the Angels.
And Aaron's already thrown 56 pitches.
Going. Ground ball down to Ryan. He'll go short way to Andino, and that'll do it for the Angels. Damage done by Trumbo. 2-run homer, second 2-run homer of the ball game. Angels have a 5-0 lead. Banged out 2 home runs already. Hey, are you the ultimate Northwest Mariner fan in the state of Oregon? Well, then Root Sports is looking for you throughout the month of May. Capture a photo on Instagram or Twitter with the hashtag UltimateNWFanOregon, showing why it should be you. You're going to be entered to win a VIP experience. Mariners Fan Appreciation Night in September at Safeco Field. Go to rootsports.com for details. Robert Andino leads off, strike one. Oh, never. Wilson, pretty good athlete. Backhand, didn't get him.
Give him a hit.
Mariners have their first base runner. First 6 up, 6 down.
Not sure why C.J. Wilson decided to throw the little backhanded flip to first. He had time to spin. Oh, he was falling down as he was picking the ball up and just tried to get rid of it quickly. Andino, with good speed, was able to beat it out. If you look at our McDonald's Supermo.
So Andino picks up a hit. It's his 7th of the season. Indy Chavez was the leadoff man last few days. Eric White said he didn't want to have back-to-back left-handers up there with he and Seager, so he's got Indy down in the 8-hole. Plus having a tough left-hander out there in Mr. Wilson.
And you can see what he did last night. 3 for 4 last night to raise his batting average to .310 overall. Really done a good job since being called up from AAA.
The 5-game hitting streak work. There's a strike 1-1. First time Indy facing off against C.J. Wilson. Wilson's won 5 of 7 against the Mariners since 2011. Get a 1-1 here. Slashing strike, 1-2. Held on by Hank Conger. Indy's gone. 3rd strikeout for Wilson. 1 out.
Wilson was able to get ahead with a fastball and then went to work on him with the hard slider. 2 of them in a row as Indy swings through both of them. Pitches off the plate away, not able to hold up.
Bring up Brendan Ryan. Ryan last played on Tuesday and was lifted after the 6th inning. He went 0 for 2 Tuesday in a 3-2 loss at Houston.
Well, there were a lot of high hopes for Ryan coming into this season. He's so good defensively. Last year was a real struggle on the offensive side for him, and it looked like he was making strides in spring training and actually got off to a pretty good start early in the season. He's fallen back into some bad habits, and that's why he had been lifted as the everyday shortstop coming into the game tonight. Just 143 average, so he has struggled.
After 3 games, he had a 273 average, and it's been all downhill since then. Ahead of that one 0-2.
Well, I think the hope is that without having the pressure of the game on him now, Dave, he can have all this extra time to work with Dave Hansen, the hitting coach, to try to find something that is serviceable for him so they can get him out there defensively.
One out and Dino at first. And he's gone. 2 outs. 4th strikeout for Wilson. Time for our Century Link to what's next. Joe Blanton used to be with the Athletics. He and Felix Hernandez have faced off multiple times. Felix 2-2 with a 2.08. Joe Blanton been with the Phillies. The Angels tried to build up their rotation in off-season. Jason Vargas, Blanton. Was it Tommy Hanson came over?
You can see by those numbers for Blanton, he's struggled early on. ERA over 7, has yet to win again.
Top of the order, Jason Bay. First time in his career, the leadoff man looks at strike one on a breaking ball. C.J. Wilson facing his 10th hitter. He's got 4 strikeouts. One. Play base straight away. Pitch in there for strike 1 and 2.
The last fastball for Wilson was at 91 miles an hour. When he was closing for the Rangers, he was in the mid-90s, 94 to 96 miles an hour. We talked about it since he's become a starter. He has 5 pitches now. His fastball isn't quite what it used to be.
They scrambled by Hank Cougar, 2-2 on that pitch in the dirt. Michael Saunders DHing for Tacoma tonight. Best case scenario, he's back at Big Ball Club on Monday. Two and two. Ground ball down to third. Jimenez throws over, and that'll do it. Mariners get an infield hit. It's their lone base runner through 3 innings against C.J. Wilson. Mariners trail 5-0. Technology is brought to you by the Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Welcome back to Safeco Field. Angels lead it right now, 5-0. You're looking at the side of the building right across the street. Today's one of those days where baseball and football collide. They were showing updates of the NFL draft today. Hi, everybody. Angie Mentink here. And the Seahawks didn't have any picks yesterday, but after today, we have 2 new Seahawks and 10 more picks still to come. And in the second round, the Hawks get running back Kristen Michael out of Texas A&M. In the third round, Seattle grabs defensive tackle Jordan Hill from Penn State. So everybody was thinking, speculating, maybe they go with a linebacker, but no, it's a running back and a defensive tackle. And with a name like Kristen, it's not Christine, it's Kristen. I'm guessing that he's pretty tough, guys.
Plays at Texas A&M, guaranteed. That's a good ball club down there, Texas A&M, so I think the Seahawks are going to really like that selection. Night's over for Aaron Harang. ERA went from 10.24 to 11.37. Gave up 5 runs. Here's Hector Noesi.
For Noesi, his 3rd appearance of the year is yet to give up an earned run. 4 innings for him. A couple of strikeouts. Big number so far is he hasn't walked anybody.
Hank Conger, last time Hank was up, he got ahead of Harang 2-0 and hit a 2-run homer into the right field seats. Conger family, they're still down on Federal Way. They were enjoying that. Hank's first homer of the season.
After good fastball, he'll be in the mid-90s. Hard slider.
Well-placed heat right there. 1-2. Harang, not the start he had anticipated.
No, 3 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs. All of them earned a couple of walks. 58 pitches for Aaron tonight.
Gave up 2 2-run homers. Conger and Trumbo. Trumbo had a line drive straight away center field. Conger's gone. Good start for Noesi. 1 out.
Goes with an off-speed pitch after a couple of good fastballs. You see that change-up running away from Conger. Circle change.
Here's Luis Jimenez. Grounded out to third. This one popped out of play. With a third bad start by Harang. Had Hultzen not been shut down with tendonitis, it might have been one of the guys they could think about bringing up, right?
I think it's still early. I think they wanted him to pitch a little bit.
Talking about Danny.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they were to do anything, we're looking at it right now. Noesi, they have a couple of long guys in the pen. Devin, who started in the rotation this year, is out in the pen as a long guy, and Noesi, the other one.
1-2 strikes. Noesi can go a long way to help his cause, that's for sure. 2, 3. Jimenez caught looking. Back-to-back strikeouts. Good start to the stint by Noesi.
I'm wondering if something was bothering Aaron Harang, because for him to be pulled after 58 pitches, again, the Mariners have played a lot of baseball with just 1 day off so far. And have to go to your bullpen. I'm wondering if something was bothering him and they decided to pull him early with 58 pitches through 3 innings.
There's Peter Borges, 1 for 2 already. Bouncing ball. Smoke will take care of it. And an outstanding first inning here by Hector Noesi. See if the offense can start to click. Seager, Morales, and Morris when we return. Baseball on Root Sports, being brought to you by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. By Sterling Bank, nobody works harder for you. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. And by Linwood Honda, experience the difference. Love our time-lapse photography. What's that clock? Right above the 0 and safe Schofield. That baby's moving all over. Look at it, the Minahan's just moving so fast. Clouds that came through here. Very pleasant night here, a Friday night in Seattle. Mariners down 5-0. Got some work to do. Kyle Seager will start it off here against C.J. Wilson, who struck out 4, giving up just one little infield hit thus far. Told you earlier about that Detroit 10-0 win over Atlanta. Anibal Sanchez struck out 17 in that ball game. Wow. Hey, now. Strike 1 to Seager. Struck out on a 1-2 pitch his first time up.
Let's see what Kyle learned. The first pitch fastball in his first at bat, and then C.J. Wilson went to work on him with the slider. He did the same thing here. First pitch fastball for a strike. There's the slider off the plate away. Kyle lays off of it.
Seager, a career 1 for 14 against C.J. Wilson.
Another slider. You have to remember, too, before C.J. became the closer with the Rangers, he was their left-handed guy out of the pen. So lefties would normally, I would think, have a tough time against him because of that hard slider. And he's been using it effectively against the left-handers in the lineup tonight, which is Kyle Seager and Andy Chavez. There you go.
Oh, base hit. That'll work. Smart hitting by Kyle Seager. And the Mariners have their second base hit of the evening. They'll bring up Kendrys Morales.
15-game hitting streak for Kyle Seager. Take a look at the swing by him. Stays on this breaking ball. It's elevated a little bit by C.J. Wilson, but Kyle stays on it. Didn't try to do too much with it with 2 strikes. Just serves it into left field to extend his hitting streak to 15 games.
Morales' first time hit a comebacker that went off the glove of C.J. Wilson, bounced right to Howie Kendrick, the second baseman. A 1-3 putout that ended the first inning. There's the 0-1 from Christopher John Wilson down low. Talking about batting Wilson against left-hand hitters. He's had a fine number in his career against lefty batters. 204 entering tonight's game.
Yeah, it's his slider. It's a hard slider, and left-handers would have a tough time with that pitch. Now Mariners need another base hit. Get Michael Morse, who hit the ball hard at the third baseman his first time up. See if he can elevate a pitch and turn this back into a ball game.
I think that's the first ball he's hit really hard. He's muscled 3-4 base hits up the middle, off the middle of the bat.
Well, I was curious to watch him too, and because you were talking about his finger, and it was the day off helped him, and that's the first time we've seen him turn on a ball hard since he fractured that finger. So that's a good sign.
Two and two to Morales. Morse on deck. Kendrick can't get it. Seager will hold as Trumbo gets it in quickly. Boy, he charged that aggressively out there in right field. Good start for the Mariners here in the fourth. Brings up Michael Morse.
And a good sign. Kendrys did not roll over on this one, stayed with the pitch and hits it hard. Past a diving Howie Kendrick.
Hard ground out first time. Ground out the third.
Watch Michael take batting practice today. He was hitting it out of sight.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
That's a good play by Conger.
He's a cat.
Yeah. Quick back there.
It's done very nice work back there. 1-0.
This is a hard breaking ball in the dirt. Chest up right in the middle of his chest and keeps it in front of him. Good play.
Borges, couple of steps towards right center for Morse.
It's a good pitch from Michael to hit. That's a good fastball away from him. Easy for him to get extended on it. Take a look at the swing by Michael. Fastball away and just a little bit tardy.
Got a 1-1 count.
See a tremendous extension from him. A lot of leverage with Michael Morse.
1-1. Up high. Angels scored 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third. Noesi posted a 0 in the fourth. Mariners, their first base runner to second base. As we play here, no outs in the fourth inning. 2-1. Good 2 to Michael Morse.
Again, a little bit late at same fastball, and again, it's away from him, but just late on it. See how deep that ball gets. Almost on his back hip by the time the barrel gets to it. So this time it's just a little bit off on the pitch away.
Morse's last homer back on April 9th, his 6th. It was against Houston. It's right here at Safeco Field. 2-2 pitch from C.J. Wilson. Look out. Oh, that got a piece. It did get a piece of smoke. Seems to be okay.
Emergency hack from Michael, just protecting this fastball. Too close to take, and you can see it's right at Justin. He's just to the left of your view. Luckily, he was paying attention. He was able to move just enough where he can get squared up by that.
So, Max, way to hang in down there, cameraman. Way to hang, buddy. Way to hang, my man. 2-2. Inside, full count. This place is ready to erupt. Good Friday night crowd. Angels in town. Second game of a 4-game set. Mariners trying to get back against C.J. Wilson. He's got a career mark of 11-5 against the Mariners. 6-3 here at Safeco. Payoff. Popped it up, foul out of play. Right-handers have hit .247 against C.J. Wilson in his career. The 3-2 pitch to Morse with 2 on. Bout continues.
Well, Wilson has a good fastball. It's been 90-91 miles an hour, and I think for Michael, he's the back of his mind, he's aware of that hard slider down at his back foot. He doesn't want to chase a pitch that's out of the strike zone, so he's a little bit late on the fastball. I think if he was in a better count earlier in the count without the 2 strikes on him, he would have caught up for one of those fastballs that he's been fouling off that have been away from him. Right now he's just protecting the plate and aware of the hard slider by Wilson.
Come on, what is this, a library meeting? Scott Barry going out there to break it up. 9th pitch coming up.
Really? How long does it take to say fastball, slider, or curve? Which one do you want?
Politics is in row 3, okay? Come on. Three and 2 to Morse. Down low, walked in, bases loaded.
Good at bat from Michael.
That's outstanding. First walk issued by Wilson. And here in the fourth, with nobody out, the Mariners have loaded them up.
Really good at bat from Morris after hitting the ball hard his first time up. Held off a number of pitches. Good pitches on the outside corner, and eventually Wilson walks him again. Wilson 15 walks in the 24 innings he has pitched coming into this game. Michael had to work hard to get that first walk for the Mariners tonight.
This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Tom Verducci in Sports Illustrated today wrote a piece about Smoke and talked about his numbers. They're not up to what as a prospect, and he's had 1,500 plus at bats.
Right.
Not looking good. So I talked to Eric Webbs before the game. I said, do you believe in Smoke? Totally. I mean, it's not just talk. You believe in it. It's just totally.
He said the same thing to me.
I mean, after I read that, you know, you and I talked.
Yes.
And we talked to other people. And I saw Verducci's piece. So I asked Wedge, you know, what's your thought on this? Straight up. For the record. He said, hey, still believing in total.
Yeah, he has said it to me, too.
Well, he could not ask, Mr. Smoke could not ask for a better spot right here. Bases loaded, nobody out. Strike one.
It's a good slider for a strike. I think the big thing with Justin is 1,500 at bats, but he was rushed to the big leagues, and you wonder how many of those at bats should have been in the minor leagues before he ever had a chance up here. And, you know, it's one of those things. This is a tough place to learn.
Oh, 1 to Smoke. Strike two.
And that being said, you have to produce at this level, Dave. That's just the bottom line. And you know, the patience of Eric, Jack Zarenzik. You can believe in Justin, but eventually he is going to have to get it done.
Oh, 2 to Smoke. Bases loaded, nobody out. 5-0 Angels. Pitch. Again, Conger does an outstanding job to keep that ball in front.
He might be as quick as any catcher we've seen.
He's in that Kurt Suzuki mold.
Yeah, good call.
Suzuki now at the Nationals. Kurt, when he was with the A's.
Same thing. Nothing went to the backstop.
Nothing got by him. One and 2. Big pitch here to Smoke. Got him. C.J. Wilson, his 5th strikeout. 1 out here in the 4th.
And that looked like the slider we were talking about. Possibly he was going to throw to Morris, but instead he throws it to Smoke. Right at his back foot, gets him to swing over the top of it. McDonald Supermo goes to attack, and he's out in front of that pitch expecting a fastball.
1 out, bases loaded. Kelly Shopik now took a called 3rd strike to end the 2nd inning. Inning starting with a base hit by Seager. On a 1-2 pitch, flipped it into left center field. Morales base hit to right. Great at bat by Morse. He walked. Smoke is struck out. Here's Shopik. Ball 1. Back C.J. Wilson into a corner. Hopefully they do not let him out. 1-0 count here to Shopik. And hitting. Well, to get 1 run in.
I had a feeling that something was thrown inside to Kelly Shopik. He wasn't going to make a big effort to get out of the way of it.
And good call, because he didn't.
No. RBI.
Yeah, that's right. And the Mariners are on the board.
Take a look at this. Look at Shopik.
Oh, yeah. He volunteered on that one. Base is still loaded. Robert Andino, good, just queuing up stories. My dad telling me about Eddie Stanky and people like that. Or run into Billy Martin. I don't care. Hit me. I got to get on. Ron Hunt with the Mets in the early 60s. Here's Andino.
That's not easy to do, by the way.
Hello.
Your initial reaction as you see the ball coming at you, your reaction is just to get out of the way. And there's so many times, I know I've done it, when a pitch like that is in there and you wish, man, I should have just let it hit me, but you've already, moved out of the way of it. So for Kelly to be aware enough.
That is a big time commitment.
Oh, it's certainly, especially taking off the elbow like Kelly did, but it's one of the many things that Eric Wedge likes about Kelly and why he wanted him back. Played well for him when they were together in Cleveland.
Sure. Meanwhile, Andino down 0-2. We'd like to see him get at least 2 or 3 runs here.
It's like Pujols over at first is giving Kelly the business about it.
Yeah, he's veteran play.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 0-2 to Andino. Strike 3, call, 2 outs.
A couple of big strikeouts from C.J. Wilson.
He's got 6 already.
This looks like the fastball. It is. There's a fastball right on the inside corner. Robert thought it was off the plate.
Endy Chavez struck out on a 1-2 pitch. Bases loaded, now 2 outs. He did go, so third base umpire Marty Foster 0-1.
Kyle Seager ended up getting the inning started. Kyle struck out his first time, made an adjustment, was able to stay on the slider to get a base hit. Well, Indy saw the same pitches. That was the first pitch slider again. So we'll see if he can get this figured out. Maybe sit on the slider. He throws him a fastball. I think he'll throw it in, maybe in off the plate, just to get back to the slider again.
Here's the 0-1.
Another slider.
So a ball and a strike. Bases loaded. We got Morales at third. Morris at second. Kelly Shopik with the hit by pitch RBI at first. 2 outs. Smoke Cade swinging. Andino Cade looking. Now 1-1 to Chavez. Outside 2-1. Well, you talk about a team hungering for a base hit. Something in the gap. Let them run. 2 balls, 1 strike to Endy Chavez. 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, a hit batter. And 3 hits given up by C.J. Wilson. Down the line, foul. Oh, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Indy, the 7th hitter to the plate here in the 4th inning. Eric Wedge, Robbie Thompson, his right-hand guy. Hoping the veteran Chavez can deliver. Two, Andy. Struck him out. That is a devastating inning. Leave them loaded. They get 1 run on a hit batter. C.J. Wilson survives Angels lead 5-1. turn to the 5th inning and ask the booth the question tonight from Scott. Can you explain what the batter's eye is? Mike, it's all yours.
Yes, it's that black wall that you see in dead center field. And all the ballparks have it. You can see it here. This is what the hitter is looking at. Basically, they put that up to help the hitter see the baseball, white baseball, and you can see it clearly on that backdrop that they have back there. The Mariners have done a great job, as opposed to having a look at it like this. If they had a bunch of nonsense out there, that would be tougher to see for the hitter. So they're just trying to help the hitters out, get a better look. I can remember Fenway Park. They used to have those bleachers in center field.
Sure.
And the wall it's a tall wall, but it was too low as you're looking out through the mound up in that angle. And they used to have fans out there, and it was difficult. And I think it was when Randy Johnson was there at 6'10" coming out of that area. They don't sell those seats during day games anymore. They run a tarp up there to help the hitters out, but that's basically what the batter's eye is. And that is what Peguero hit last night.
Mm-hmm. They had issues for years at Wrigley Field. Day games, white ball coming out of his white shirts. No chance. Trout 0-2.
Well, I know even here, because it depends on how the sunlight's hitting it at different times. And as you know, the sun can be up till 10 o'clock at night, middle of summer here. They had a tough time here sometimes with the day games in the backdrop, but Chuck Armstrong worked hard to change it a number of times before they were able to get it correct, and now it's one of the better backdrops in the big leagues. But it's important for the hitters, and especially for their own safety, to be able to pick that ball up coming out at 95 miles an hour.
Trout rolls over on one. Ryan throws him out. Trout tonight make that 1 for 2 with a walk. Well, 2, 3, and 4 coming up here in the 5th inning. Hector Noesi came in, got 2 strikeouts in the 4th, posted the first 0 against the Angels tonight. We talk about it all the time, and it's so true. Real important to get back in that dugout and shake off the ill effects of leaving them loaded in the bottom of the 4th.
Well, they need to come right back, and more importantly, just see if they can put the pressure right back on C.J. Wilson again. He made some good pitches to get out of that inning, but the Mariners have to bounce right back, get some more base runners out there.
He got 3 strikeouts when he needed them. He did hit Shopik. That brought in the Mariners' only run. Pujols fouls one back. Take a look at the Albert Pujols Amica hit zone from last season. He got up to a slow start and then got healed when he came here first time late April, early May, I believe it was, here at Safeco Field.
Well, I was going to say, you look at his overall numbers, 266, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs coming into the game. Really, when you think Albert Pujols, nothing to write home about. But compared to last year, it's a much better start for him.
Going inside, no success, and not much better on the high and inside either. 1-2. That will get down as Chavez has to play it on a hop. Base hit.
The swing by Pujols. Looks like it's middle. Beltine in the middle of the plate serves it back into center field.
One out with Pujols on. Josh Hamilton, the hitter. It truly is Mr. First Pitch Swing.
It's a good pitch right there. Kelly Shopik, the veteran behind the plate, knows that. Starts him off with a changeup. Josh was out in front of it.
Hamilton a strikeout and an infield hit. Got one off the end of the bat against the shift. Seager fielded and put it in his pocket. 0-2. Do it again at 0-2. Big spot here for Noesi on in relief of Aaron Harang, who lasted just 3 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, all around, 2 walks and a strikeout. 58 pitches, 34 for strikes. Gave up a couple home runs. Swing, a foul tip into Shopik's glove. 2 outs here in the 5th. The man aboard here's Angie Mentek on an update on the Rainiers.
Yes, well, Michael Saunders was beginning his rehab assignment tonight. He's 0 for 1 with a walk and a sac fly, but that's actually not the biggest story coming out of the Rainiers right now. Their starter, Andrew Carraway, has not allowed a hit through 5 innings in Las Vegas. The Rainiers are leading 6-0 right now. Guys?
Good stuff, Angie. Thank you very much. Here is Mark Trumbo, line drive home run, a 2-run shot over the center field fence. Another line drive. Chavez coming in and makes the catch. Good inning for Noesi. Good for him. Gives up just 1 base hit. Leaves a man stranded. Home 5th coming up. It's 5-1 Angels. Time now for the AT&T trivia question. Who hit a home run in the Kingdom June 24 of 97 that was estimated to have been hit 538 feet? Paul Sorrento, Jay Buhner, Mark McGwire, or Jose Canseco? Were you with the ball club at that point?
Yes, I was.
I have no history at that time with the ball club, but just looking at the list, I'm going to go with Paul Sorrento.
Paulie hit some long home runs. I remember one that he hit in Arlington that hit all the way back into the concession stand.
Oof. Boy, the Mariners got to get going. 7 men to the plate. Score 1 run because Shopik did a veteran move and let himself get hit on the left elbow, and that brought in a run. They had strikeouts of Smoke swinging, Andino looking, Chavez swinging, and that left the bases loaded. Here's Ryan to lead it off. C.J. Wilson's got 7 strikeouts through 4 innings.
Next pitch will be 70 for C.J. There you
Ryan
go.
Shoots one through the hole, base hit. Needed it.
And gained a little confidence. That is something they worked on all spring with Brendan Ryan, and he was doing a good job of it, but like so many hitters, the season started and you get out of your comfort level, and he wasn't able to do it. But this right here is perfect. Fastball away from him, stays on the pitch. Nice solid line drive into right field.
Goes back to what Dave Hansen said the other day. You got to trust your adjustments.
And the thing with Brendan Ryan is Felt like his stride was getting out there too far and the ball was getting on him, so just trying to shorten up his stride and give his hands a chance to work. And it makes sense. You would think a guy with the kind of hands he has in the field, give him a chance to work at the plate a little bit. Maybe he can do a few things. So solid base hit for Brendan Wright.
Top of the order, Jason Bay, 0 for 2. Popped to short, ground out to third. Down low for ball 1. Checked himself, takes a strike, 1-1. Good pitch by Wilson, 1-2.
We talked about Wilson and all the trouble he was in last inning, and was only getting the 1 run. But coming back in the stretch again, see if you can make him work through it one more time. All you can do is keep grinding through it. Well, in the 5th inning, you can pick up a couple more runs. You have a ball game. Looks like Noesi, man, he has really pitched well since being recalled in that role of coming out of the bullpen. He just seems to be more aggressive with his fastball, doesn't he?
7 batters, he's got 3 strikeouts. Good work. Inside the Bay. There's another example. Trust your stuff.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we talked about with him last year, Noesi, that is, as a starter, he would get ahead of hitters with his good stuff, and then he would start to mess around pitching off the plate. Walk batters eventually have to give in to him, throw some pitches in the middle of the plate and get hurt. But he has tremendous stuff, and he's pitched well out of the pen.
Breaking ball hit foul.
A little bit of a hanger that time from Wilson. That one was just spinning about belt high.
Talk to coaches about players with ability like Noesi, and you talk to front office people, they're reluctant to give up on them too soon because you see these flashes that are like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, well, with the clicks, you hate to see him dominating for somebody else, right?
Absolutely. That will get through. A base hit for Jason Bay. And here come the Mariners again. First 2 men have reached, just like in the 4th. See if they can capitalize in a bigger way here in the 5th inning.
Well, that'll bring up Kyle Seager. Kyle had a base hit his last time up to extend his hitting streak to 15 games. As we take a look at Jason Bay, had a couple of hits last night. One of them a big one to drive in a couple of runs. You can see how high that pitch was above the belt. Gets on top of it and drives it back up the middle. Good look at Harris, the shortstop from the Angels, trying to make a play. Mariners back in action again.
Jason Bay 1 for 3.
Well, that's average up to 310 now. So he's doing some damage.
Seager, leading hitter with the ball club. Leader in hits, total bases, doubles, and RBIs. Strike 1. Oh, your pick on the trivia question: Sorrento, Buhner, McGuire, Consega.
I know the answer, so
okay,
I decided not to do
you're
it.
in the ball game,
Yeah.
right? There you go.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Wanted that one, didn't get it. 1-1.
Well, now it gets interesting as the wheels are spinning up there on what he's going to do. We talked about Kyle striking out his first time on the slider, then he gets the base hit on the slider last time. Now he sees 2 fastballs away from him.
Two on, nobody out.
Another fastball away from him.
Good battle here. 2 balls, 1 strike, a couple of men aboard. Well, that's been a very effective pitch. 2-2. Five runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Angels. 1 run, 5 hits, no errors by the Mariners. 2-2. And out there again, missed. Full count. C.J. Wilson, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. On deck hitter Kendrys Morales is 1 for 2. Pitch here to Seager. Struck him out. 8 Ks for Wilson. 1 out here in the 5th.
Well located fastball from Wilson on a 3-2 count. This pitch is right on the outside corner. Well, wasn't late on it. Just off the plate away. Just wasn't able to reach it.
Wilson stranded 3 runners thus far. Here's Morales. Ball 1. Pitch. Off the plate, 2-0. Inning started with Ryan shooting a base hit through the whole right side. Bay to left center. Strikeout by Seager, and now Morales at 2-0. Angels got a run in the first, a sac fly by Pujols. 2-run homer in the second by Conger. 3rd inning, a 2-run homer by Trumbo. Well, 3-0.
In the meantime, the pitch count starting to climb on C.J. Wilson, working here in the 5th. 85 pitches for him. Michael Morris waiting on deck.
Pretty good speed out there in Ryan and Bay. 3-0. Waiting for a strike. Morales now career with the base hit back in the 4th. 3 for 10 against C.J. Wilson. Pretty good hack.
It was a real good swing on the fastball that was out over the plate.
Angel Brain Trust watching. 3-2. Wilson and Morales. Walk team, bases loaded again. It's a second walk issued by Wilson. Make sure you spend a Saturday night kicking back in the King's Court. Cheer on Felix and the Mariners as they take on these Angels. For only $30, you grab a seat in the Royal Seating section. You get a new 2013 King's Court t-shirt and a K-card. So don't miss a great time seeing one of the greatest pitchers in the game. That's tomorrow night. Get your tickets now. Mariners.com/Felix. Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, out for a word with C.J. Wilson as the Mariners have him loaded up. 2nd inning in a row. They got one run the first time. And Kelly Shepard took a pitch off the left elbow area. But what happens now?
Well, hopefully Michael Morse, who missed some fastballs out over the plate his last time, eventually worked a walk, will be able to catch up to one of them.
That's his favorite walk-up song right now. So let's see what he comes up with here. He's had a good look at Wilson. Ground out to third. And about a 10-pitch at bat in which he walked. Bases loaded. He is the tying run. Off the end of the bat, strike one.
See what he's done in his career. 389 hitter with the bases loaded, 4 grand slams to his credit. And De La Rosa, the hard-throwing right-hander, getting loose in the bullpen.
On 1 to Michael Morse, 1 out, bases loaded. Popped it up. Playable. Kendrick. Infield fly rule in effect. Draws a throw. And now they're 2 outs. Just an FYI for folks at home. Our tracer is not working. We apologize for that. Working to get that corrected.
Mariners need a big base hit. They're 0 for 5 tonight with runners in scoring position. C.J. Wilson at 90 pitches now.
Got an APB out for a base hit. Smoke struck out on a 1-2 pitch his last time up. Bases were loaded. Fastball away, ball 1. 6th hitter to the plate here in the 5th. They sent 7 in the 4th. Got 1 run, left them loaded. Breaking ball for a strike. Count even at 1-1. Bases loaded, 2 down pitch. Takes up high, 2-1.
He was able to get Smoke on that hard slider at his back foot. He's going to go to that pitch again. Justin, I'm sure, aware of that. As a hitter, the hope is that he hangs it, leaves it in the middle of the plate somewhere, easy to catch up to that pitch.
Here. 2-1.
There it is.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Smoke with the bases loaded and 2 outs here in the 5th.
You look at the swing by Justin, down and in. Actually left that pitch up a little bit for him to attack it. That looked like the cutter in on his hands.
Olsen ready. 2-2 pitch. Hammered foul. Rare that you get back-to-back chances, 4th and 5th innings. Situations like this, bases loaded, be a game changer. There's a 2-2 in the dirt, full count. On deck hitters Kelly Shepard.
And the good news is the runners will be able to take off. And C.J. Wilson starts home, so they'll get a little advantage.
Crowd anticipating. Ryan at third, Bay at second. Morales at first on Beard Hat Night. 3-2 to Justin Smoke. The pitch from Wilson. Hey, struck him out. Another threat dives. Second inning. The bases have been left loaded. 5-1 Angels. Great social night here at Safeco Field. College evening, 5-1 Angels. Sleep Country USA bringing you a look at the Mariners calendar. 2 more games with the Angels. Orioles come to town. That'll get us into the month of May, and then the Mariners are off. And they'll be heading to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Blue Jays, they lost again tonight. They're 9-16. Not the start folks anticipated from that ball club.
Not at all. And all the changes.
Was it Johnson had he was scratched, I think it was last night or tonight. They lose again at Yankee Stadium this evening.
Jose Reyes was playing great for him too, and they lost him.
Right.
That was a big blow to that club.
Kawasaki is taking his place. Kawasaki used to be with the Mariners last year, self-proclaimed energy boy, and he's become a fan and team favorite up there already. At hand here with the Mariners, they've left them loaded the last 2 innings. Down 5-1. Howie Kendrick go 1 pitch. Now 0-2. Well, good side of the coin is Hector Noesi. 3 strikeouts in his first 2 innings, and he's ahead of Kendrick here. But the Mariners have left a couple of zip codes on base. All 2 strikes. Popping a short right. Morse has it located. 1 out. 1 out here in the Angels 6. Be here next Thursday for an exciting MLS matchup. You can watch the Portland Timbers host the New England Revolution. That's a 7:30 start time. Catch all the action only on Root Sports. Well, if you're the Mariners right now, make sure you keep your head up on defense. No hangdog in here after leaving 6 men on the last 2 innings.
Well, you have to, the hard part about it is you have to do it again. C.J. Wilson, it looks like nobody throwing in the bullpen is going to come out one more time. So you try to put the pressure on him again, and hopefully somebody comes up with a big base hit.
C.J. Wilson struck out 9, walked 2 today, and hit a batter. He had a run on 5 hits. Brendan Harris is 1 for 2 with a run scored.
Well, the hard part too, Dave, is even if you don't come up with a big base hit with the situations that the Mariners have had, a couple of sacrifice flies puts you right back in this game, and that's what's going to be frustrating at the end of this game if they end up losing it, and that's something that Eric Wedge, I'm sure, will address.
Other side of the coin, Albert Pujols' first pitch. Runners at first and third. First inning. Skied one to center field, brought home the first run. 2-run homer Conger in the second inning. 2-run homer Trumbo in the third. Three and one here now to Harris. Shortstop batting in the 7-hole. On deck, Hank Conger, the catcher. And Oesi loses Harris, his first walk. One out base runner in the 6th. Make sure you step up to the plate and hit one out of the park with savings on Sound Transit. Rethink your commute and visit soundtransit.org. Hank Conger got ahead in the count against starter Aaron Harang. 2-0 count and homered into the right field stands. Harang, short stint, 3 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, all earned, 2 walks, strikeout, 2 home runs on 58 pitches. Big rip by Hank. Strike one. Side 1-1. Looked like he overthrew that.
No, I think he just wanted to make sure that he was able to get in there. He started him off with a changeup, and I think he wanted to jam him up with that good fastball. I just think he wanted to make sure that he got it inside. If he misses with it, he can go back with a changeup or maybe double up in there.
Back safely is Harris. Attempted 1 stolen base this year and was unsuccessful. Two balls, 1 strike.
He's so good with his fastball, hitting the corners, and now he's missing the plate with it. To be a little aggressive and get back on the dish, make these guys swing the bats. They certainly want to.
Popped up, that'll get out of play. 2-2. Orioles lead at Oakland 1-0, bottom of the 7th. And just going to have highlights of that game coming up. Boston beat Houston 7-3. Texas held off Minnesota late rally 4-3 Texas. Left field driving Bay back on the track. And Conger hit that a long ways. 2 outs with the man at first in the 6th. Saturday, May 11th. The next car in the collectible Mariners Train Car Series. It pulls into Safeco Field the Tom Wilhelmsen train engine. It's free to the first 20,000 fans when the Mariners take on the Oakland A's. Punch that ticket to train night on May 11th at Mariners.com. Cleveland, Kansas City got postponed. And there's a strike to Luis Jimenez. Ran out the third and took a called third strike.
Still surprised the Angels just aren't running. Harris has good speed at first. And he hasn't made an effort to go.
Popped up and playable. Smoke taking control, puts it away, and Noesi strands a runner. He's pitched 3 pretty strong innings. We go to the home 6. Mariners down 5-1.
Angels lead it by 4 as we head into the bottom of the 6th. The Baltimore Orioles will come to Safeco Field on Monday. Tonight, the Orioles in Oakland, though. Jed Lowry of the A's sending a drive deep to center field. Check out Adam Jones going back to the wall, makes the leaping catch. You got to look at this again because he's blowing a bubble and then pulls it back in his mouth right before he crashes into the wall. It's 1-0, guys, right now.
AJ does that a lot. Good stuff, Angie. Thank you very much. Here's Kelly Shopik to lead it off here in the 6th. Third time the charm. Let's see as he swings and misses. The last 2 innings, the Mariners have loaded the bases. In the 4th, they got 1 run because Shopik offered up his left elbow, took one off that with the bases loaded. They got the Mariners' only run, got him an RBI. Next inning, in the 5th, after the bases were loaded, Morse popped up the 2nd. Smoke struck out for the 2nd inning with them loaded up. Strike 2. C.J. Wilson's first 3 innings. Wilson 35 pitches, inning 4 through 32, and he threw 30 in the 5th.
Next pitch will be 100 for C.J. His high this year is 115.
Dribbler goes foul. Mariners have left 6 men on. Angels have left 4 men on base in this 5-1 lead. 2-run homers by Conger and Trimble and a sac fly by Pujols. The Angels runs. Pitch off the plate, 1-2. Two to Shopik. Off the plate. 2-2.
A little bit surprised to see CJ trying to go in there. Both those pitches inside. Kelly again, after being hit the time before, hasn't budged. He's not going to get out of the way.
Two. Breaking ball fouled off. Wilson's run up 9 Ks against 2 walks. Tip of the cap to Hector Noesi came on in the 4th and has allowed just 1 hit, struck out 3 and walked 1.
He's pitched well, throwing the ball hard tonight, around that 95-mile-an-hour range.
2-2 to Shopnick leading off the 6th.
He's making C.J. Wilson work again. Trying to get his pitch count up and get him out of the game. Still nobody throwing in the Angel bullpen.
Two balls, 2 strikes to Shopnick. Broken bat, bleeder up the middle. It's a base hit.
Really good at bat by Kelly, fighting the whole way and making C.J. Wilson work, and ends up winning the battle with a base hit.
Sean Burnett warming up.
There you go. Change up from Wilson, and Kelly's able to stay on it just long enough. Hits it off the end of the bat, but finds a hole back up the middle. Good at bat.
Andino got the first hit. It led off the 3rd. Rips this one foul. A little squibber up the first baseline. C.J. Wilson. He had it to do over again with turn and throw overhand. He tried to do it with a backhand kind of deal.
Yeah, I think though it looked like his feet were starting to go out from under him. Yep. He just tried to get rid of it.
Second time up, Robert took a called 3rd strike. Shopnick in 09, 18 hit by pitches, led the American League. That's how the Mariners got their run tonight. It's back in the 4th with the bases loaded. Great start to the inning. Seager a base hit, Morales a base hit, long at bat by Morse. A walk and a strikeout of Smoke, hit by a pitch, and then 2 more strikeouts ended the threat. To Andino down the line. That is a fair ball. Shopnick to second. Digging it out is Trout. They'll hold Shopnick. A double for Robert Andino with nobody out here in the 6th.
All right, there we go again, Dave. Putting more pressure on C.J. Wilson. 3rd inning in a row. Wilson's in trouble. Been able to wiggle out of it a couple of times. This is the 3rd trip. Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, is going to go out and talk to him. And Andino drops the back foot. That was that slider trying to go down and in. Hits it hard down into the corner.
So Andino with his 3rd double of the season sets up the Mariners 2nd and 3rd. Nobody out here in the bottom of the 6th. 4th consecutive inning that the leadoff man has reached for the Mariners. And right now they just have 1 run to show for it as Burnett upping his intensity out in the bullpen.
C.J. Wilson now at 109 pitches. Andy Chavez coming to the plate. Chavez hasn't had any luck. He's 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Imagine the Angels will play their infield back, so Andy has to find a way to put the ball in play here.
He's had 2 good looks at him. Struck out on a 1-2 pitch, struck out on a 2-2 pitch. Mike Scioscia's club 5-1 lead. Indy to center field, backing up Borges. Shapik will tag and score. And Dino tags and moves to third. 5-2 ball game. Sac fly Indy Chavez. And that's his 4th RBI. One out here in the 6th. Nice to see that run get picked up. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports, being brought to you by Auburn Volkswagen, Das Auto, and by Pizza Hut. Make it great.
And that will be it for C.J. Wilson. Mike Scioscia out to the mound.
So Chavez sac fly picks up a run, chases Wilson. 5-2 ball game. Five-2 Angels as the Mariners trying to claw their way back into this ball game. They've just chased starter C.J. Wilson.
Hey, look at his numbers: 5 1/3, 7 hits, 2 runs. They're actually both earned. Couple of walks, 9 strikeouts, 110 pitches for C.J. 73 of those per strikes. A lot of sliders from C.J. Wilson today. Good fastball to Kyle Seager. Another fastball, cut fastball on the inside corner. There's the slider to Endy Chavez. After a couple of sliders, high heater again. Slider down and into Justin Smoak. Fastball in the inside corner, but he pitched well. The Mariners had him on the ropes a number of times, and they're finally able to cash in another run to get a little bit closer. So along with all these strikeouts, the Mariners had the bases loaded 2 innings in a row, and now they start off with runners at second and third and nobody out. Able to cash one of them in because of the sac fly by Chavez, as Sean Burnett will take over for the Angels.
Burnett, 30 years old, out of Dunedin, Florida. Born there, still lives there. C.J. Wilson off the hook twice. Got out of bases loaded situation. Gave up just 1 run the first time. Push bunt down the line. Nice job by Ryan to first base. He is out. But the run scores to make it 5-3.
I like the play. Brendan Ryan doing what he has to, hitting ninth. Obviously been struggling, had a base hit his last time up, but he knew he needed to pick that runner up with just 1 out, and was able to do it, get the Mariners within 2 runs now. Almost had a base hit out of it.
Nice job here.
Now take a look at it, trying to push the ball. He gets it past the pitcher, and Pujols picks it up, a little shovel pass, almost throws it back into the runner. A good play by Howie Kendrick, the second baseman. Keep his foot on the bag.
Sacrifice 3-4 with an RBI. Top of the order, Jason Bay. Bases cleared. Cupper runs in. Strike 1 to Bay. Bay with a single to center in the 5th inning.
Numbers for Burnett. His 11th appearance. Pitched well, a 1.13 ERA for him. 7 strikeouts, 3 walks over the 8 innings he has pitched.
Veteran guy's been around with Pittsburgh and Washington. Came up with the Buccos in 04. Didn't play in 05 because of an injury. Worked his way back from the minors in 06 and 07, and then 08 got the call. With the Buccos in 08 and 09, and then traded to Washington in 09, and was with the Nats through last year. And Bay's aboard. Well, the opportunities have been ample for the Mariners, that's for sure. They're going to bring the tagging one to the plate here in Kyle Seager.
Kyle, 3 home runs on the year again, extending his hitting streak to 15 games. 2 of his 3 home runs have come off of left-handed pitching.
Seager glad to see C.J. Wilson out of the ball game. He went 1 for 3, couple of strikeouts, got a base hit in the 4th and a run scored. Net practically stepping into the first base dugout with that windup. There's the 0-1. No balls, 2 strikes.
The crossfire left-handers, it looks like the ball's coming out from behind their back. That was a fastball inside as Kyle fouls it off.
Two runs in, runner on with 2 outs. 0-2 to Seager. Did not go. This is Marty Foster, ball and 2 strikes.
I don't think he went. Fastball in off the plate. No, he was fine.
One and 2 to Seager. Runner goes. Slow breaking ball popped up. Trout, Borges calls him off and makes the catch. Mariners get a couple of runs on 2 hits. No errors. Leave a man. 5-3 ball game now. Angels on top. .543 here at Safeco Field as we check out our Sterling Bank. Nobody works harder for you. Hector Noesi came on in the 4th inning. He's done a nice job here for the Mariners, giving up just 1 hit, striking out 3, walking 1.
He's been really good tonight. Fastball at 95 miles an hour. A good changeup to the left-handers and a hard slider to the righties. Eric Wedge needed him to hold the score where it was at the time, 5-0, and he has done his job.
Aaron Ranks started as Borges tries to get going with a bunt here, top the 7th. Peters 1 for 3 with a run scored. outside to Borges. Here's the 1-1. Top of the order, Borges, Trout, Pujols. Here in the 7th. Took a lot off of that one, and Borges puts it into the gap. He can really run. Making the turn, and he's going for 2. Here's a throw at second. He is safe. Borges with his first double of the year. Hustling out of the box. Why? And you would too if you had that speed.
With that speed, it's hard to believe it is his first double of the year. It was a good play by Andy Chavez. The throw was a little bit high, but I think even if it was on the bag, he was going to beat it. See him running hard right away, and he gets over, cuts it off. I thought maybe in the gap, but he cuts it off, turns around, and throws it a little bit high. Straight in slide by Borges.
The leadoff man's aboard here in the Angels' 7th. Bring up another speedster, but he's got pop too. Mike Trout. Single walk and a ground out tonight.
Kyle Seager playing even with the bag at third just in case he tries to bunt.
Ball 1.
Medina and Furbush ready to go in the bullpen.
That's the second hit given up by Noesi. Put a long way and foul. We saw him take Felix opposite field down in Anaheim last year. Medina and Furbush heating up for the Mariners. Aaron Harang started 3 innings, didn't go well. 6 hits, 5 runs, all earned. And Wesley's done a nice job since coming on in the 4th. Time called. Fouled off again, 1-2.
It's a good pitch by Hector. After that first swing from Trout, you could tell he was trying to hit the ball the other way. Comes back in on his hands with a good fastball. Angels 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position tonight, but they do have a couple of 2-run home runs to their credit.
Wesley's got Trout 1-2. Taking a lot of time here. Now he steps off. One-two to Trout. Took something off it. Fouled it. Largest crowd we've had since opening night. Opening night was 42,589. Tonight, 31,543. College night here at Safeco Field. Beard hat night. Going down to third. Borges, he's safe.
A wild pitch on Noesi. Kelly keeping the ball in front of him, but Borges a lot of speed. Good secondary lead out at second base. Take a look at it in front of him, and once he sees the ball kick away at all, he was going to take off. Good play by Kyle Seager to pick it as Kelly threw it in the dirt.
So now infield will come up close. Drawn in infield, 2-2 to Trout with Pujols, Hamilton, and Trumbo still to come. Nobody out here in the top of the 7th. Full count now to Trout. Three and two to Mike Trout. Pitch from the Westie. Popped up, out of play.
He's just a tough out, isn't he?
That speed guy, power guy. What a combo.
Hector's made some good pitches on him. He keeps fouling him off. Hanging around waiting for something in the middle of the plate.
American League Rookie of the Year last season. Here's a 3-2 again. And he's able to check his swing, and he go down to Wally Bell. Did not go. So Noesi issues a walk. That's his second. Two speed guys are aboard for Pujols. MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Mariner baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. So text at bat to 31826 or visit Mariners.com for details. More hot water here for the Mariners. Pujols up. Runners at first and third.
Carl Willis making a trip out to the mound for Hector. 49 pitches. I would have to think this is going to be his last hitter. Pujols. You have Charlie Furbush ready to go to face Hamilton, who's on deck. And then you have the right-handers Trumbo, Kendrick, Harris, all those guys coming after that. So we'll probably see Medina. Charlie coming in to probably face just one batter. Wink of the eye by Carl Willis, and back to the dugout he goes. You probably let Hector know this is going to be your last guy, so make some good pitches and we'll get you out of here.
What a good pitch thought in his head. Like a good caddy would do on the course. You need that 7-iron and drop that sucker right in. Tough chore here. Pujols sack fly in the first, grounded to a double play in the third, base hit the center in the fifth. Infield up close. Top shelf speed on the base path with Borges and Trout. Ball one.
It's like Hector's starting to lose a little bit on his fastball. He's been 92, 93. When he first came in, he was at 95.
Pujols, three-time MVP in the National League. Here's the 1-0. Fly ball right field, plenty deep. Morris under it. Pujols has delivered another sacrifice fly as Borges trots home. And it's 6-3. So Eric Wedge in the top step. And here he comes. There's going to be a pitching change. And when we come back, we'll answer the trivia question by showing you one of the longest home runs ever hit in a Seattle Mariner baseball game. 6-3 Angels. AT&T trivia question. Who hit a home run in the Kingdom June 24, 97, estimated 538 feet? Mike knew the answer. I went with Sereno. Survey says fans went with Mark McGwire, and indeed it was. Ball landed, look at that, 439 horizontal feet above home plate, 59 feet above the playing surface. Here's what it looked like. And check out the clock. Upper deck, left center field. You folks remember that at the Kingdom. And this thing, look at 8:19 on the clock. It went about 8 rows beyond that. I mean, look at all the fans turning and looking. Great Dave Nee was on the call there.
I was there. I thought he was going to hit that concession stand that was on the back wall where they were selling the pennants. He was pretty close to that.
Good night. What a shot.
It's the longest home run I've ever seen.
Wow. That is crazy. 538 feet. That is
Big
tough.
man catching up to 100 miles an hour, and that's what happens. Charlie Purvis taking over for the Mariners. His job is going to be to deal with Josh Hamilton. It'll be the 11th appearance of the year for Charlie. 7 2/3 innings for him. 13 strikeouts, good number. Walks a little bit high at 7. Josh Hamilton stepping in. Charlie have to keep Trout close at first. He'll probably try to steal at some point. Charlie uses slider against Hamilton.
Hamilton tonight, a strikeout, an infield hit, and a strikeout. Slap save. Breaking ball, foul, strike one. .49 stolen bases for Trout last year. Decent lead. Breaking ball, swing and a miss by Hamilton. 0-2.
2 breaking balls in a row from Charlie.
Swing and a miss. June 24th, 1997. In immortal words of Paul Harvey, here's the rest of the story.
Big unit on the mound, and we saw the home run from McGwire, but Randy trying to do something special on this evening. And here you go. That's strikeout number 19 for Randy Johnson. 19 strikeouts in that game. The odd thing about it was we ended up losing the game. I was on that team. We lost the game 4-1, but 19 strikeouts for Randy Johnson.
That's impressive. Another pitching change. Furbush does his job. Strikes out Hamilton. Medina's going to come in. He'll face Mark Trumbo. Back to Safeco Field. Mariners down 6-3 in the 7th. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is being brought to you by Captain Morgan. Raise your glass, always in moderation, to life, love, and loot. And by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. It's a nice day in Alki. Right now at Safeco Field in the 7th inning with 2 outs. Mariners trying to keep the Angels from scoring again as Yoervis Medina takes over.
His 4th appearance on the year. 2 2/3, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. Opponent's average 200 against Medina. Medina has a good fastball. 94, 95 miles an hour, hard slider.
I was laughing because they were playing Funky Cold Medina, of course. Fans dancing up on the Mariner vision. It's a tough spot here. Trumbo hit a bullet home run straight away center field. 2-run shot in the 3rd. Trumbo's 3rd home run. RBIs 11 and 12. Good breaking ball for strike 1.
Good slider at 86 miles an hour.
Medina, the 4th Mariner pitcher this evening. On it goes. Throw by Shopik in front of the bag. Nice job by Andino to make the grab. Trout with his 4th stolen base.
Take a look at Andino just trying to keep it on the infield. You can see no play, so he comes up in front of the bag, gets a short hop, able to field it cleanly. Shopik able to throw Trout out last night. Not able to do it here in the 7th inning of tonight's game.
Nice job by Robert. Now you get the speedy Trout in scoring position and a 1-1 count to Trumbo. One and 2. Yoervis Medina into the organization back in 05, a non-drafted free agent. Puerto Cabello in Venezuela. 1-2. Struck him out. Tag applied by Shopik. Nice job by Medina to get Trumbo as they strand Trout at second base. Angels do get a run at 6-3. Millions ticket with a $5 mega flyer and receive a voucher for a chance to win one of 5 $1,000 prizes each week. Play bonus play from Washington's Lottery today. Visit WALottery.com for details. Get some stretching work in, the aerobics. See if the Mariners can get some runs. They've had the distinction of leaving the bases loaded twice, a fourth and a fifth inning, when they had a chance to really do some damage on starter C.J. Wilson. And now the third pitcher's in the ballgame, Dane De La Rosa. Morales will lead it off. He looks at strike one. Morales, Morse, and Smoke 3, 4, and 5 here in the seventh. And strike two to Morales. One back up this way.
Those throwing hard, 96 miles an hour. And run the letters for Morales.
(0-2) the count. Upstairs. De La Rosa coming off of 2 perfect innings in his first big league win. Well, it looked like Scott Barry was ready to ring him up.
I thought about it. Now he's telling Mike Scioscia that pitch is inside. It's a good fastball, though, at 95 miles an hour.
De La Rosa coming over from Tampa Bay on March 27th in exchange for right-hander Steve Geltz. 2-2 to Morales. It's a right to the shortstop. Harris takes his time. There's Pujols, and there's one out. Take a look at our head and shoulders pitch sequence.
Well, Michael Morris, I'm talking about the bases being loaded. Michael was able to load him up. He missed some fastballs away, but put up a good fight. And after a 9-pitch at bat, see all those good pitches by Welty, keep spoiling him. A 9-pitch at bat, Michael ends up getting a walk out of the deal to load the bases up for the Mariners. We take a look at the last pitch. But a good at bat by Morris.
Here's Michael grounding out to third, a walk and a pop out. Strike one on to Michael. De La Rosa recalled from AAA Salt Lake City on April 9th. Power on power.
Yeah, 95 miles an hour. Looks like he likes to throw his fastball at the top of the strike zone. It's a tough pitch to catch up to.
(0-2) to Morris. It's really coming downhill, isn't it?
And that last fastball at 97 just missed the outside corner. I showed you Michael fighting against C.J. Wilson to get a walk. He's going to have to do it again here.
(1-2) struck him out. 2 outs. 2 outs here in the Mariners' 7th, coming up tomorrow. Game 3 of this weekend series. Joe Blanton looking for his first win. Felix Hernandez coming off an outstanding performance in Houston. Be on the mound for the Mariners. Our CenturyLink to what's next.
Felix just really had another good April. We look at his ERA to 2.08. Win-loss record is probably better than it is, but he has pitched well in April.
Here's Smoke. Struck out his last 2 times up with the bases loaded. First time up, grounded out to third. Strike one.
De La Rosa's not messing around. All fastballs from him. They're a good fastball. They're 95 miles an hour or better.
Smoke behind 0-2. De La Rosa, third pitcher tonight. Off his heel, third baseman there, double clutch. Smoke beats it out.
Looked like it was going to be a bad break for Justin as he hits it back up the middle. It would have been a base hit if it was been by the pitcher De La Rosa. And after it hit to him, it went right to Jimenez. Jimenez with a double clutch, and Justin was able to beat it out. As you take a look at the pitch, fastball running away, hits it back at him, and the deflection goes right to Jimenez, the third baseman. But then right there, can't get the handle on it, double clutch. And by then, Justin beats it out for an infield hit.
Dane De La Rosa hardly flinched. 6'7", 245. 30 years old, out of Torrance, California. Originally drafted by the Yankees, 24th round of the 0-2 draft as Kelly Shopping steps in. Hit by a pitch, bases loaded with an RBI, got a single and a run scored. Borges coming on. They can't get it. So 2 on for the Mariners. They're going to bring the tying run to the plate here. And Robert Andino's been called back.
Yeah. Looks like it'll be Dustin Ackley who had the night off. Dustin Ackley will pinch hit for Andino. Andino started at second base against the left-handed pitching Wilson, but it'll be Ackley get a chance to do something here, get the Mariners a little bit closer, maybe tie it.
Ackley bat night tomorrow. Ackley in his last 6 games got a hit streak working. He's 10 out of 23.
And he's been swinging the bat much better. A really good series in Houston before we came home.
Ackley likes the fastball. Dane De La Rosa's got a good one.
You see what he's done over his last 6 games, hitting .435. Scott Downs, a veteran left-hander, just getting loose. He just started to throw. Mike Scioscia looks like he wants to make a slow walk out to the mound. He'll be in no hurry.
So he will milk this for all it's worth.
Yes.
They get Scott Downs an opportunity to heat up.
De La Rosa tried to just hand him the ball. Hold on, kid.
De La Rosa with Tampa Bay in 11 for 7 games, 5 games last year.
Home plate umpire Scott Berry trying to get in the middle of it. And there you go. Now he goes to get the left-hander.
Mike's been around. He knows that.
Yeah.
He played for Tommy Lasorda for crying out loud. He saw all of that action. Take a break. Mariners have the tying run coming to the plate here in the 7th.
The 7th inning, and the Mariners are bringing the tying run to the plate in Dustin Ackley pinch hitting. Now looking ahead to Sunday's matchup in the finale of this 4-game series, we got Jason Vargas versus Hisashi Iwakuma. Vargas, the former Mariner, still looking for his first victory of the season. Hi everybody, Angie Mentink here at the Ford Sports Desk. Now it's not all that often that I walk over to the enemy side, but I did want to say hello to Jason while he was in town, and he was telling me it was so strange to go to the visitors clubhouse. He had never even been there before when he was a Mariner. And I also spoke with the gentleman who was in the locker next to him, Jared Weaver. He's weeks away from making his return. He threw guys for the first time on Wednesday, and now he was able to throw 75 feet for 6 minutes today, but it's going to be a long way back, and he still has several more weeks before they will let him throw off a mound.
All right, Angie, thank you very much. Freak accident for Weaver with the left elbow injury. Exactly. There's Jason Vargas. Big spot here for Ackley. And it's a little chilly down in that dugout. Keep himself warm. Here's a 1-0 from Scott Downs to Ackley. Pinch hitting for Andino. There's a strike, 1-1.
Downs fastball, upper 80s. 11th appearance of the year, 2.89 ERA. 9 in the third innings for him so far. 7 strikeouts, 4 walks. He'll also mix in a slow breaking ball and a slider.
Downs a veteran, 4th year. Make that 3rd year with the Angels. Been with Toronto and Montreal and the Cubbies. Here's the 1-1. Over the Mariner dugout, a ball and 2 strikes. Angels have stranded 5. The Mariners have stranded 7. We've got 2 men on now, 2 outs and a 1-2 to Ackley. Smoke at second, Shopik at first. Ackley 0 for 1 pinch hitting this season. Here's the 1-2 from Downs. Off the fist, just got a piece of it.
Trying to run that fastball in on his hands. It looked like the pitch was off the plate inside. Take a look at this last pitch as Dustin trying to fight it off. A little bit too close for him to take. Actually fouled it off with his leg.
Runners take their lead. Scott Downs is ready. Here's the 1-2. Breaking ball outside. Scott Downs, 37 years old. In Louisville, Kentucky, went to college at the University of Kentucky in Lexington.
Nobody throwing out in the pen for the Angels. The only right-handed hitter on the bench is Montero.
Ackley coming off a 1 for 4 performance last night. He's 2-2 here to Downs. 2 out, 2 on. The pitch. Base hit. Knocked down by Kendrick. They're going to wave smoke. Here's the throw to the plate. Uh-oh. Got him. That didn't look good at all. And smoke thrown out at the plate. Still a 6-3 lead for the Angels. I've asked them to do a redo as we take a look at our money tree in-time play.
Strange play. Ackley looks like he's going to have a clean base hit into right field, but Kendrick knocks it down. The ball deflects off of his glove. It gets away from him. You can see how far he had to run. Turns and just fires it to home. It ended up being a perfect throw. Great play by Kendrick to stay with the play. In the meantime, Smoke was coming around third. Jeff Datz, looking at the play, decided to send him. And Smoke was cut down at the plate. And it looked like Smoke and Datz, the third base coach, get tangled up a little bit. He slowed up to get out of the way. And that was just enough for him to be thrown out at the plate.
One step. Well, that's a killer. Conger in great shape, receiving the ball.
I think if he doesn't have to slow down,
yep,
when he saw Datz in front of him, he probably scores. Been that kind of night, Dave.
Correct. One of many words we can talk about on the air would be distasteful. You at home can fill in your own blanks. Howie Kendrick, who made the play. How many times you see this?
Well, you can see Datz watching the play to decide whether he was going to send Smoke. So he had his back to the runner watching the play. And the Smoke just about ran into him coming around. Take another look at it as Smoke comes around. He sees the play.
Half a step right there.
Yeah, that was that hesitation is what ended up costing him. And you can see Datz waving him home.
2-0 to Howie Kendrick. Yoervis Medina, fourth pitcher for the Mariners. And Howie sends one to right field, and Michael Morse puts to right and one out. First out. Harang, Noesi, Furbush, and now Medina. We're playing the eighth. How crazy was that last inning? Mariners got 3 hits, couldn't score, left 2. So that's 9 men left on base. Mariners trailed by 3. Here's Brendan Harris. 1 for 2 with a walk.
I hate to say it, but I can do you one better.
What do you got?
4th and 5th inning combined, Mariners had 4 hits, 2 walks, and a hit batter and walk away with 1 run.
Ouch.
Yeah.
4th and 5th, and then lead to 6th. Left them loaded both innings.
Right.
Way inside. One to Harris. This ball at 94, 1-2. Breaking ball, sliced down the line, trouble. Morse into the corner. Harris, oh, he's in the second with a double. Brendan Harris, second hit tonight, his 3rd double of the season. Comes with 1 out here in the 8th. Hey, Mariner fans, want to meet the bartender? Then be sure to stop by the QFC in U Village next Monday from noon to 1. Where you'll get a chance to meet the Mariners closer, Tom Wilhelmsen. Again, it's next Monday, April 29th, noon to 1 at University Village, QFC.
Andrew Romine coming on the pinch run for Harris.
His brother Austin just called up tonight to the Yankees. He's a top catching prospect. Cervelli went down with an injury. The in the Yankees-Toronto game. There's Hank Condren, 2-run homer, first time up. That was back in the second inning against starter Aaron Harang. Since then, Hank has struck out and fly to left. In on the button, but right at second baseman Ackley. Throws a smoke for out number 2. Down to third goes Romine, a pinch runner. Two outs, man at third brings up Luis Jimenez. Jimenez ground out to third, called third strike, and a pop to first. One foul, 2 outs.
That may have been some trouble too, because Kyle Seager was playing back with 2 outs, expecting Jimenez to swing away. Strange game on both sides. If you look at the Angels, they have 6 runs. They haven't had a base hit to drive in a run yet. As far as runners in scoring position go, 2 sacrifice flies and 2 two-run homers.
Morris to his right, comes right back to him, and that'll do it. It's an 8th inning lightning here from the Mariners. They have 8, 9, and 1 in the order coming up. Hat night, 31,543. And they've seen the Mariners leave 9 men on base tonight. They trail by 3. Still hope here, bottom 8. As Endy Chavez, Brendan Ryan, and Jason Bay will come to the plate against the veteran left-hander reliever Scott Downs. College night as well. Weather outstanding.
Had a good crowd tonight.
Yes, indeed. All they need now is a Mariner W. Will comeback action. Ball 1 to Chavez. Endy kept with strikeouts and a sacrifice fly tonight.
Andrew Romine staying on to play shortstop.
That'll load Endy. in there for a strike. 1-2. Right through the 5-hole base hit. Good start for the Mariners. Another leadoff man aboard.
Chavez came into the game hitting .310, and we'll add to that 1 for 3 now. Also has a sacrifice fly. You see this ball hit right back at the pitcher Downs.
Fourth time the Mariners have had the leadoff man on. Fourth consecutive hit by the Mariners. Smoke, Shopik, Ackley, and now Chavez. Brings up Brendan Ryan. 1 for 2 with a sacrifice. Mariners 1 for 8 runners in scoring position. It's no RBI. That was Smoke getting thrown out to end the 7th inning. Pitch outside for ball 1.
Well, that base hit. Frieri starting to throw in the pen. Right-hander for the Angels.
Ryan ahead in the count, 2-0. Mariners about hit the Angels 11-9. 9 men left on by the Mariners, 6 by the Angels. (3-0). On deck, Jason Bay, batting in the leadoff spot, first time in his career. There's a strike. 3-1.
Brendan Ryan didn't like it, thought that pitch was down. Looked like it was down. Home plate umpire Scott Berry helping out Downs.
(3-1) to Ryan. 1 on, nobody out. Now he's aboard. So base hit and a walk brings a tying run to the plate again. Frank Scioscia's team has led all the way. Mariners have been knocking, can't kick the door down.
Another team meeting on the mound for the Angels. See what Jason can do. He's 1 for 3 in the game. He's also walked. Had a base hit back in the 5th inning.
One swing hit tied up. First pitch from Downs. Strike 1. Mariners have had 2 on, nobody out. 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th inning, and now Same situation again.
I have them 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position tonight. Downs looks like he's just struggling to throw a strike.
One on one to Jason Bay, 2 on, nobody out. Breaking ball misses.
I think Socha left him in the game because you have Kyle Seager waiting on deck and he wants the lefty-lefty matchup. Friere certainly ready to go. Congra will make a trip out to the mound. One of the things that Socha was talking to you about, right, Dave, is the walks. The walks have been a killer for him.
Been brutal. Aaron's got to take advantage of it. Boy.
4 walks tonight.
84 walks entering tonight's game against 138 strikeouts. 2-1 to Bay, 2 on. Mariners down 3. Off the plate, 3-1. Bay straight away in the outfield, straight away in the infield. 3-1 pitch coming from Scott Downs. Takes a strike, 3-2.
Jason looked like he was taking that pitch the whole way. Pitcher struggling, not a bad idea. You can see the Angels 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. The Mariners 1 for 7. Jason get a fastball he can handle right here and ride it out of here. Bay coming into the game with 1 home run.
31,543. Thinking right along with you. Here's the payoff to Bay. Pitch from Downs. Foul.
Right now, Jason Bay is hoping he gets that same fastball right back.
And ride it.
Yeah. It's right down the middle.
Mariners have been threatening, and have not had the big blow here tonight. Could use one here. 3-2 to Bay with 2 on. Pitch up the middle. Romine will take it himself. Double play. Down to third goes Chavez. Double play. 2 down here in the 8th. Seager with 2 outs and a man at third. Breaking ball for strike. Seager tonight struck out. Singled to center and scored in the 4th. Struck out in the 5th. Fly to center in the 6th.
Situation that Kyle was so good in last year. 2 outs and in scoring position. Anything is find a way to get on base. And Morales waiting on deck and Morris after that.
Down low, 1-1. Only one other game in progress right now. Dodgers 7-5 lead in LA, top 9 against Milwaukee. Brandon Lee on in that game. Here's the 1-1 to Seager. Ground ball, foul. Seems like many moons ago, Aaron Harang started this game with 3 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs all earned. Mariners have been trying to climb back ever since. They were down 5-0 through 3. Harang gave up a couple 2-run homers. Conger and Trumbo, sac fly to Pujols. One and 2 to Seager. Mariners got 1 in the 4th. Left the bases loaded. Left the bases loaded in the 5th. They did get 2 runs in the 6th. Sacrifice fly and a sacrifice bunt. Left 2 more on in the 7th.
A little bit surprised down. Just throwing the 1 breaking ball to Kyle. Back-to-back fastballs to him.
One, 2 to Seager. Breaking ball got him. Another runner stranded. 8 complete. All Angels 6-3. Six-3 lead for the Angels. We go to the 9th inning here at Safeco Field. Catch new episodes of Mariners All Access every Sunday throughout the season before Mariners pregame shows. Get exclusive player interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and Mariners stories you can't find anywhere else. Now, if you miss Sunday's episode, tune in for re-airs throughout the week on Root Sports. For your local programming schedule, go to rootsports.com. Medina continues. Came on to get the 3rd out of the 7th inning. Gave up 1 hit in the 8th. Tough night for the Mariners. Down 6-3. Trying to battle their way back in. Top of the order here for the Angels. It'll be Borges, Trout, and Pujols. Ten men left on base by the Mariners. They have an 11-hit night. Just 3 runs. Borges tonight. Couple of hits. Had a hustle double back in the 7th. A base hit to left in the 1st inning. In between, a couple of groundouts.
The Mariners 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Unfortunately, the 1 hit actually turned into another out as Smoke was gunned down at the plate.
Seager charges, throws out Borges, 1 out. Game 3 of this series tomorrow. Joe Blanton, the veteran, new to the Angels, having come over from Philadelphia, takes on Felix Hernandez. Felix coming off career victory number 100. Great job by Felix in the 7-1 win on Monday in Houston. He went 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 9 Ks. There's Mike Trout. There's Felix. Mike Brumley in the foreground. Goody in the sitting right below Felix. Strike one to Trout. Walked twice. Got a base hit to center. And a ground out to short.
Bullpen has really done a good job tonight. 5 in the third. Giving up just 1 run.
Trout fooled on that pitch. Frieri, he has been murder against the Mariners over the last couple of years. Ernesto Frieri. He's the closer. He's getting ready. Got just 2 saves so far. Ball and 2 strikes. Medina's ready. Here comes the 1-2 to Trout. Fouled it off. C.J. Wilson started for the Angels, went 5 1/3, baffled the Mariners. 7 hits, 3 runs all earned, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts, and many of them super timely. Strike 3 called on Trout. He knew it. Backed out, 2 down.
Looked like after he fouled that fastball off, he thought he was going back to the breaking ball, but he just pumped another heater in there at 94 miles an hour.
Did a second strikeout. Giving up just 1 hit. They'll face Albert Pujols now with 2 outs, nobody on. Quick one, Albert. Couple sac flies for him tonight. Ground into a double play and single to center, 1 for 2. Flinching on that breaking ball. 0-2. First time seeing Medina.
Oh, he had a little more break to that. 86 miles an hour, so he still threw it hard, but he started it right at Pujols and ended up in the middle of the plate.
He went. Albert with a few words for Scott Barry. Medina strikes out his last 2 hitters on 1-2-3 inning. Last ups for the Mariners.
the Angels as we head to the bottom of the ninth. Hi, everybody. Angie Mentink here at the Ford Sports Desk. Coming up on Mariners postgame, we've got lots to get to. It was day 2 of the NFL draft, but really day 1 for the Seahawks. We will head into the clubhouse and check with the Mariner players after this one. Plus, Michael Saunders began his rehab assignment. We'll see how he did, and we've got the latest on Danny Holtzman. Lots coming up here. We might be staying late, guys. I don't know if we can just fit this in 30 minutes.
We'll see what happens. All right, Angie, thank you very much. As Ernesto Frieri takes over the closer for the Angels.
Hard-throwing right-hander. Dave mentioned Mariners have had their issues with him. This will be his 9th appearance on the air. He's 2 for 2 in his save opportunities, a 2.16 ERA. Opponent's average 200. He has 12 strikeouts over the 8 and a third innings he has pitched. He'll have to pitch to the middle of the lineup. It'll be Morales, Morris, and Smoke. 2 up here in the 9th.
So here we go. Kendrys Morales to lead it off. 1 for 3 with a walk. Mariners have left 10 men on. Last chance to atone for that. Down 6-3. Popped up short left field. Going back at third baseman Kevin Trout. Oh, he dropped it. In the second, safely is Morales. Wow. E7.
All the great catches we've seen that young man make. And this one about as routine as it gets.
Clank City.
Not much to say other than clank. Wow. Good job by Morales. He's popped up. He's not happy. He knew he had a good fastball to hit. Turns around. Probably surprised to see the ball on the ground. Then he runs hard. Makes it into second. Makes a double play out of the way. Wow.
Boy, oh boy. All right, there's a break. Can they capitalize? Here's Morse. Fly ball, short right field. Kendrick Gundred, 1 out. Boy, Smokes had all kinds of opportunities tonight. He did get a hard smash back up the middle to get a base hit with 2 outs in the 7th, but struck out with the bases loaded in the 4th and the 5th.
Well, Mariners at this point still need one more base runner to make it interesting.
For sure.
Hard slider. Yeah, hard slider. Where he started the first 2 hitters off with fastballs, and Justin gets the slider.
Oh, in the smoke. Down low. One for 4 night for Smoke. He's got a 1-1 count. Too long. Long look by Frieri. He's got a 2-1 pitch coming. 3-1. Kelly Shopik's on deck. Frieri came over last year from San Diego. 56 games with the Angels last season. 3-1 pitch. Walked him, and they'll bring the tying run to the plate. What's that, the 4th time? 3rd time for sure.
Oh, for the tying run?
Yeah.
I would say 4, yes, that's safe. Rally beard hat going on out there. We'll see what Kelly Shoppach can do. Again, it's interesting now. Tying run at the plate. Frieri likes his fastball. See if Kelly can get one. Only one home run on the year.
In a third innings, Frieri's going against the Mariners. He allowed just 2 hits, not counting tonight.
That was a good fastball, 95 miles an hour. He took a hack at it like he was trying to tie this game up.
Absolutely. Frieri from Boulevard, Columbia, still lives there. 27 years old, 6'2", 205. Kelly Shoppach got 1 hit tonight, a run scored. One and one. Two men on again for the Mariners. Shoppach represents the tying run. Popped it up. Playable. Jimenez. 2 outs.
Bring up Dustin Ackley. Ackley came on as a pinch hitter back in the 7th inning. Ended up getting a base hit. So he is 1 for 1.
Mariners down to their last out. Two men aboard. Strike one. Rally beard hat night. Whatever works. 0-1 to Ackley. Strike 2.
2 fastballs.
The 0-2 to Ackley. Hit down to Jimenez, bobbles, takes his time, throws over, and just gets Ackley. And that was a close play. And that's the ball game as the Angels won it by a count of 6-3. As the Mariners just could not come up with a big hit to save their lives. 3, 6, 9, 10, 12 men left on base.
Well, they were in a big hole early, down 5-0 after 3 innings. But as you mentioned, Dave, plenty of opportunities in this one and just could not get it done tonight. So they'll have to come back tomorrow. But the good news is they have Felix on the mound, so hopefully come back and get a win tomorrow.
Here, here. That's the way you got to look at it. Series even at 1-1. Brad and Bill, it's all yours.